Hey, this is Shobhit, and today we'll be talking about the 5 roadblocks that come into product management careers. You really have to hear this. Stay tuned for more. Hey everyone, it's Shobhit and I'm excited to do this episode of 5 roadblocks in product management careers. Now this is a very important topic. These roadblocks I've seen emerge over and over again in people's careers and you must know about them. So let's get started with that. Now look, here's the deal here. Let me first begin with the story. Let me give you some context of what actually goes on. So there's a common story that I see of somebody who was, a new product manager ready to take on the world with tons of enthusiasm and zeal. And she thought it was her time. She understood her role. She listened to all the talks that happened in all the different conferences and really learned about product management. She read the right books, so she was really getting prepared. And she saw her future bright, right now she's a product manager, soon she'll be promoted, then maybe like Sundar Pichai of Google, she'll be the CEO one day. That's how she saw her future. But what I also see when that's the case, that very often their careers slow down. And product managers often tell me that it seems that there is something slowing me down in my career, but I don't know what it is. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncover the real problem for you, because the real problem is not that your career is slow. The real problem is that you haven't overcome the roadblocks. And the fact is that I just want to make sure that you step by step understand what the 5 roadblocks are and how do you start to think about tackling them? Because it's not just enough to know, how do you think about these? So that's really what this video is all about. So let's begin with roadblock number 1. By the way, before we go, just you probably already know who I am, but I'm former product manager at Google and a bunch of startups. I founded Intentional Product Manager, where I've coached hundreds of product managers have a career that they can be proud of, so that they can create a happy and fulfilling life for themselves and their families. That's my mission. That's what I live for. And I've worked with product leaders across all these different companies, from Google, or Facebook, or Amazon, or Capital One, and so on and so forth. These logos are pretty much out of date. So, roadblock number 1 is getting stuck in non-product land. So by this, what I mean is a product-led land is a case where you're prioritizing outcomes, as in a happy customer, achievement of business goals, and that's really what you're prioritizing. While a non-product-led company is where you're being given a roadmap to execute. Marty Cagan says that, they tell you what to do rather than what goals to achieve. And then outputs, you're measured by how many user story points, for example, were delivered, or whether you did the PRD or not. That's really how you're being measured. And the problem is that you are building the wrong skill sets in a non-product led environment. So you're learning how to be a great project manager, a great executor, but you're completely missing out on being a strong business leader, which means you're missing out on customer insights, both qualitative and quantitative, and that skill to really understand what do customers need. Not just what they tell you what they need, but what they actually need. And then you're missing out on skill sets of being of having that product vision and strategy, to be able to set a compelling vision, to inspire people behind it, and then also how to make business level trade-off decisions. which just doesn't mean what feature to build or what technology to prioritize. It would mean, for example, what business model works here and why, and what sort of customer service should we offer, and all those things that go on the business side that you miss out on. And it gets incredibly frustrating because what's happening is that you as a product manager, and by the way, sorry for the images here, but I just learned some drawing, so I wanted to throw that in. Very often you are the product manager in the middle. You're saying, hey, we should pay attention to the market. This is what customers really need. While sales is telling you, hey, I need feature X to close this deal. Your engineering wants to just build cool shit, and your CEO just wants to fucking do it. He just says, hey, this is what we need to build, go, deliver. And I've been there. I've been at a company where I was told that, oh, we should not ask customers, we should not do customer research, we know better than the market. And ultimately that startup wasn't worth anything, surprise, surprise. So that's really what often happens when you're in this position. Now, the way out of this. Now, you might think that, hey, Shobhit, what's really a way out of it? Like, how can I actually start to do better? And if I'm trapped in this product-led environment, how do I get out? And what I'm telling you here is, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you'll know this particular screenshot where it's Tyrion Lannister, and he's in this famous scene where at the end he says, look, what inspires us is not boundaries, not kings. What people love and are ruled by is a great story. So the way out of either converting your environment from a less of a product-led to more of a product-led, and then ultimately moving into a product-led environment, is your story. You have to inspire your company no matter what. And even if they don't completely become the next Google, the next Facebook, and how product-led they are, you can move them a step forward, 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward. And then you can leverage that story of the change you brought in, being the change maker. You can sell that and get roles into product-led companies. So that's really, your story is the thing that matters here above everything else. Now, the roadblock number 2 is being known as good at execution. So what happens here? I see product managers often, they're doing so many activities. So many of these things that are tactical, from prioritizing features to organizing user requests, putting together a backlog that is 300 items and takes hours to groom. I mean, I've certainly done that. Writing help documents, attending startups, kickoffs, retros, answering any questions that come their way, figuring out how to send the best status updates to every stakeholder possible, working more than anyone else in the office. It's just absolutely like crazy. And getting known to be good at execution, what it just gets you more execution, more stuff to execute. So the way, that's a trap, because initially you're being appreciated for this. Initially things are going well and you think, oh, that's what I need to do. But what got you here is not going to get you there. So the way out of this, what we work with, I often call it the lean career accelerator. And the idea here is that you have to start to get more strategic, but the way is not to just say, hey manager, I want to be more strategic, tell me what to do. Not gonna happen. You have to start proposing things where, just like the build measure loop that Eric Ries has in Lean Startup, similarly there's a secret weapon called Lean Career Accelerator, where it's discovering the right activities using a Lean Startup like approach. And the core thing here is you start with a hypothesis that, look, if I did these strategic activities, that's what I will drive impact. And then you go into the same loop of rapid validation with stakeholders, where you start with an MVP, you validate it, make sure that gets accepted, everyone gets excited about it. And with that excitement, you start to negotiate your schedule and your activities. And then you keep going. And in my program, we keep the center in people's career dashboard. So every week they know, they understand, they have no doubt what is it that they should be working on. They don't need to think about it, they just go for it. That's what happens when you use lean career acceleration. Now, I have to say here, I initially did this talk at Product Management Festival, and Matt was one of the speakers. Matt Henderson, he's one of the leaders at Stripe. He runs business and product for EMEA. One of the things he said was that often people don't spend their time the right way because they don't have the right triggers set in place. And what's happening for most people is that all your triggers are moving you towards tactical work. So triggers in your environment, in your goals, on your career dashboard need to move you into more strategic activity. That's really what lean career acceleration is all about, is moving that shift into more strategic activity, selling that, validating that, and keeping going. Roadblock number 3, if you can guess by this image, is comparison. So here's the deal. Most people, they compare their real lives to other people's Instagram lives. The life where they're always on some fancy vacation in some fancy place and they look great and all these things are happening. That's happening on a worldwide basis. I mean, that's why I sometimes download Instagram, but then I just delete it off my phone because I don't want to be then looking at other people's pictures and being like, oh, this is so cool. But here's the real culprit. LinkedIn, as per article that came out in 2019, is the best social network for self-loathing. And here so this was really interesting from the article. Here's a short list of things that probably made us envious on LinkedIn, and I'll give you some examples. People who are younger than us but have cooler jobs than us. People who are older than us but got an amazing job when they were younger than us. People who seem to get promoted every single year. Anyone who got a specific job that we applied for and didn't get. People who did years in one career and then switched without any kind of gap. People who have a loud resume gap but successful careers nonetheless. And so on and so on and so on and so forth. Right? And so what I see, I often, when I had the first call with folks, I ask them, which peers are you envious about? How much time do you spend just looking in other people's resumes and LinkedIn and wondering what the hell they're doing? Because that's an awful place to be at, and you have to get out of it. And what we have to realize is that most people, they're trapped in the Marty Cagan myth. The Marty Cagan myth. So what's a Marty Cagan myth? You probably know Marty Cagan if you're in product management. He's written some of the best books and blogs ever. But sometimes what happens is people hear what he's written, see the examples of how he's seen things work at places, and assume that that's the only way it needs to work. And they start to feel bad when their reality does not match the Marty Cagan myth. And that's where people get stuck in comparison, the ideal self at a Google or Facebook to what they're doing. Look, product management's different everywhere, so we have to get out of this trap. What works for other people is not going to work for you. And I've been a victim of the path until I realized that my path is my own. I mean, if I had been in comparison path, I would have never left Google and started my own company and be helping so many other product managers and doing really well in all aspects of life. It just would have never happened. So getting out of this was personally very impactful, very important for my career. Roadblock number 4, I'm not going to go deep into that, is what I call the upper limit problem. And this is a book by Gay Hendricks, really awesome. And the fact is that you have a thermostat that defines your achievement point. And what happens for a lot of people is once they start to cross that, the thermostat, just like how a thermostat, if it becomes too cold, it turns on the heater and it brings it back to the set point. When you get opportunities, unless you work on changing your inner self, your thermostat, you will sabotage yourself. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again, and it hurts me every time it happens with my clients. And the upper limit problem is not being able to intentionally match your psychology with the end result you're after. And this is one of the things that I worry about most product management programs, is that they will tell you everything about the strategy. How do you do product strategy, the approach to getting more responsibility, the approach to this and that. But the problem is you're never changing your psychology. You're only working on your strategy. And I am a believer that psychology is 80% of the thing for any outcome in the world. Once you have your mind set the right way, you'll find the strategy and you'll go for it. So that's really the upper limit problem. And so you have to work on your performance psychology. You have to know and own your self-worth. It's not a one-time thing. It's about owning your contribution, your role, not letting anyone make you doubt yourself. And it's about being the result all the time. What you want to be, you're already that. And the roadblock number 5 is extreme manager dependence syndrome, where you go with the assumption where you think that your manager must watch out for your career. It's sort of like they're your parent, they're watching out for things in life when you're younger. But the fact is that your relationship with your boss is a relationship of mutual dependence between two fallible human beings. Listen, I've been there. I've been in the case where I sort of was expecting my boss to be perfect, and when they weren't, I was like, oh, well, they don't know shit, and I know better than them, and, they don't know how to manage my career, and why, and this and that, and this and that. And at the same time, what I want to say is that you have to take ownership of your own career, and you also have to take ownership of this relationship as much as your boss takes ownership of this relationship. You must own your career growth. I can't go into too many details, but you have to be explicit. You have to be methodical in how you grow your career. My clients have routines set up so that it's a methodical approach. And that's why it's the intentional product manager. It's not the accidental product manager. And you have to be persistent but not annoying, because I've heard enough cases where somebody had one conversation with their boss and they were like, oh, I never heard back from that. I'm like, yeah, how long ago was that? Oh, 6 months ago. Oh, and how about the follow-ups? Oh, you didn't follow up. Oh, I see. Poor you. So, to sum up, do not get stuck in these roadblocks. Working in a non-product led environment and never building the right skills, getting known to be good at execution, the comparison trap, the upper limit problem, and the extreme manager dependence syndrome. Now, you know the roadblocks, but look, here is where you have a choice. So you have a choice. You can take everything that I've taught here and you can just try it all by yourself. You can try to apply it. But the fact of the matter is we've just touched the surface. We aren't transforming your product management career by this video alone. So your choice is you can let this all go or try to work on it yourself, or you could set up time with somebody from my team where what we'll do is we'll diagnose. Just like you go to a doctor, we're going to diagnose what's going wrong here. Where are you getting roadblocked? What are the challenges in your career? And then what we'll do is we'll figure out how to help you fix them. So like, what is a step-by-step plan to get you towards your goals? Now, this is not for everyone. Let me just say that. It's for people who are already in product management roles or they're seeking to get into product management roles. And you must be okay with being challenged and have the courage to fight for your ideas and dedicated to excelling in your product management roles. You must be coachable. You must be open to feedback. You must not be only looking for new knowledge, but also eager to apply the knowledge right away. And you must not be satisfied till you excel and make this practice a habit. All these are my requirements. So if you fall into that bucket, if you're really serious about changes, then set up time with us. There will be a link under the YouTube video for you to set up this time. And somebody from my team will help you diagnose what's going on, just like a doctor's visit, and help you build that plan. And look, the reason why we do this is we love helping other product managers. But also, I know so many of you will need help. And if we can figure out a plan where we fit in and we can help you, we'll absolutely show you how. And if not, no worries. Still happy to help out. So don't waste time. Use the link that is below the video. Just scroll down all the way to the bottom. That's where the link is to set up time with us. And I look forward to speaking with you very, very soon.